Everyone, I'm Terry Keenan. Welcome to Cashin' In. One of America's arch enemies taking his message of hate to the United Nations and then out onto the streets of New York. Is Wall Street worried? Let's get the stock smarts. Our Cashin' In crew this week. Wayne's in the house, along with Jonathan Hoenig, Dagan McDowell, and Jonas Max Ferris. We also have John Bradshaw Layfield and syndicated radio host Paul McGuire. And welcome, everybody. Well, first he used the UN as a stage to call President Bush the devil. Then he took his message of hate to the streets of New York, all the while promising cheaper oil for low-income Americans. Hugo Chavez playing the class warfare card this week. Wayne, we saw his freak show here in Manhattan. Is this something we should actually be worried about?
I don't think. The guy's a maniac. I mean, he's a clown. He's a maniac. You know, he said well, that the whole thing about Bush being there and he smells sulfur. You know, the sulfur he smells is the bad oil that he's producing is what he's smelling. Or he's smoking funny cigarettes. It's terrible, though, that we allow this to happen. That's what I think is embarrassing. And the fact that they invited, for example, Ahmadinejad over to the Council on Foreign Relations and let him speak. And I mean, would you invite Hitler to lunch? I mean, would you invite Charles Manson to sit down and tell you how to run his life?
Yeah, but there he was, limoed up Park Avenue and meeting with the Council on Foreign Relations. Jonathan, what did you make of this whole spectacle this week?
I mean, Wayne says he's a maniac, but, like, unpack that a little bit, Wayne. I mean, the man is a socialist. That's what that is.
That's even worse than a maniac for you, Jonathan.
Absolutely. This man doesn't respect private property or capitalism or individual rights. And let me tell you, he should take the UN back to Venezuela, and that traitor Danny Glover, the man hasn't made a good movie since Bat 2-1, take him back with you because we don't want him. We should withdraw from this corrupt, worthless organizations the UN that gives this man such a platform. Well, get him out of here.
But Jonathan, the problem is we need his oil. He's the fourth largest foreign supplier, or his country at least, to the United States. It's a tough relationship we have with Venezuela, but it is mutually beneficial. He needs our money, we need the oil, and it's right off the coast.
And he's playing that card, John, this week.
Sure, he's playing that card. He's an economic terrorist. I don't know why we don't just allow bin Laden to have a stump speech here in New York, and I'm sure Danny Glover would support him as well. Wayne and Jonathan are exactly right. This is pathetic. This guy is trying to align all of our people that supply oil in the world, Nigeria, Russia, Iran, and himself, to form an embargo against us. He wants to cripple the economic the viability of the United States of America. He's an economic terrorist. He should be thrown out of our country.
Well, instead, Paul, he was up in Harlem using his oil as kind of a carrot and stick to low-income Americans.
Well, Terry, I think this is part of a secret plan from Howard Dean and the DNC. I think Hugo Chavez is going to be the Democratic frontrunner for the Democratic Party. He's giving all the talking points of the DNC, so he's going to be the darling of the Democratic Party. Maybe the next president. Well,
they might want to take something from his playbook, Jonas, because cheap oil does resonate in the polls, and we've seen the president's poll numbers come up as oil prices have come down.
I think you're touching on the real issue, which is the total amount of people outraged by this. It seems like a lot here, but in reality, it's pretty low, especially internationally, and that's who Chavez is playing up to. I think if he tried this 3 or 4 years ago, Americans in the world would be outraged, but today, we're losing, to some extent, the public perception. This leftist, socialist, nationalism thing is gaining traction around the world in South America.
Yeah, but Jonas,
that's not good for companies like Venezuelan. If I was a Venezuelan, Jonathan, first of all, Jonathan, if I was a Venezuelan, I'd be mad that he's giving oil to our poor compared to his barrios are far poorer than the poorest neighborhoods in America. But that's another story. The reality is people are buying it. People in America are even buying it. Some people. You know, Bush's ratings are not high around the world. I think Wall Street has to worry about a shift to the left, a shift to more nationalist countries as we're screwing around.
Well, maybe that's saying something about the intelligence of the public. Maybe we are not informed. Maybe we're morons. I mean, if we believe this kind of stuff, I'm serious. I mean, and Jonas is right. His own country. Would he be able to say these things? Would they invite our leaders down there to say the same kind of things that he's saying in this country? Well, why don't people just think about that? That's all you got to say and know that this guy's an idiot.
To your point, the American people, maybe this spectacle will wake everybody up in this country, and maybe we will actually do something hardcore to get us off foreign oil. That's going to mean pain. The American people have got to realize that.
But you know, it's socialism 101. Jonathan is right. He's appealing to the masses. He's appealing to the poor. He's trying to do the same thing here. He hates the free markets. He sends Citgo over here to make millions of dollars. They give a few pennies to a few poor neighborhoods. They bring all the cash back to him. If oil prices fall, which is what he's worried about because his oil production is falling in Venezuela, if oil prices fall, which they are, he could be out. And if he's out, I'm buying drinks.
And he is worried about that. We saw that in the last OPEC meeting. He wanted to cut production. But, Paul, you know, Americans are taking Chavez's cheap oil. Should we refuse to take it?
Well, as you know, Terry, Chavez is a disciple of Fidel Castro. I think there's going to be a certain appeal to lower-income demographics, maybe some of the demographics of the Democratic Party. But I don't think the average American is going to buy this cheap oil trick. I think there's going to be a backlash towards the Democratic Party, and a backlash towards Hugo Chavez. I think that the American people can see right through it.
Yeah, but Paul, is there going to be a big of enough backlash in this country that we stop buying all that oil from Venezuela? We are the biggest customer in this country for Venezuelan oil. Is that going to stop? Probably not.
I certainly hope you're wrong. I hope Americans do wake up, and I hope we stop buying Venezuelan oil.
Jonathan, are they going to wake up in time by January when this guy wants to be on the UN Security Council and he might get on?
To be honest, Terry, I hope that we're long out of the UN and that Wayne is putting up his, townhomes on the Upper East Side long before this guy gets on the Security Council. Chavez, the big man, it's so easy to give away somebody else's wealth. At least when Richard Branson gives away, billions of dollars, Bill Gates, it's their money. I mean, Chavez, the big macher for the people, he's giving away the people of Venezuela's money.
Yeah,
I don't understand why we send $1 billion a year talking about waste of money to the UN, who legitimizes these crackpots.
I think you're all underestimating how popular giving out oil when oil prices are higher to people. They don't analyze it the way you do, that this guy single-handedly almost destroyed his own oil infrastructure when he did more nationalization recently. People don't think that way. They think oil's high, Bush isn't doing anything about it, and Chavez is giving out oil to our own people and our own government, our own oil companies don't do it. That's how voters.
Well, that goes to Wayne's point that Americans need to wake up.
I agree. I mean, you can't. Of course, you can't educate the public overnight, but they should be reading. They should be listening to this. They should see this guy. All you got to do is see that, and you got to walk away. You got to think this.
And if you don't think that, he would love to, put his best friend Ahmadinejad's missiles, somewhere there in Venezuela. I mean, that's what I think we really have to worry about. But he's in bed with people who are.
To go to Dagan's point, we better get away. We better get away from Venezuela oil anyway, because they're making a deal with China right now where they are going to not ship their oil somewhere else. They're having a tough time. It's going to cost them a fortune of money, but we better get away from it because they're going to take it away from us as soon as they can.
Okay, Paul. Paul, final word.
I think the American people can see through it. When you spend money at Citgo, you're giving money to Al-Qaeda. Americans can see that.
Okay, final word. This will continue. Neil's going to have much more on this story next week on Your World. Don't forget, you can catch the entire Cash and In crew every Monday with Neil at 4 p.m. Eastern.